For me as a child, fantasy was my number one way of dealing with feelings that I didn't want to feel. If I was feeling anything unpleasant, anything uncomfortable, and it might have been like being rejected or somebody was making fun of me or whatever it was, I would go into my fantasy world where I felt better. And that totally worked until I got to adult world, and then that doesn't cut it. Because I began recognizing that I'm not really addressing it. Yes, my fantasy world definitely helps me feel better in the moment, but it's not fixing the real issue as to why I'm upset. It doesn't fix the issue why I'm uncomfortable. Meditation gave me that space where I was able to see the option to do something different. It was the option to not distract from it, to not escape from it, and to see if there was something else that I could do that was actually more successful in the longer term. Thankfully, I discovered that fairly early on. Probably based on, having studied to be a therapist, reading loads of books, I had a lot of information, I had a lot of knowledge from that kind of reading and study. But I hadn't deeply applied it to myself. I'd applied a lot of it at an intellectual level. So I could talk about it, for sure. But the lived experience of it really only started coming to me when I gave myself the space of meditation. Yeah, it's however confronting it usually gives us a solution to it. So it's whatever we do that we don't have to look at it head on or feel it head on. And that can be any kind of myriad of things. So the overall picture is really where we let ourselves sort of acknowledge that there's things that we do that are helpful in the moment because they take away the feeling, but they're not ultimately helpful to us. They don't ultimately transform what's asking to be healed inside. That in order to do that, we have to really sit with it. So it's a little bit like, again, when I was first starting to meditate, this is within maybe the first couple of months, I couldn't sit still. Everything would be itchy. I'm not an itchy person, but when I would sit to meditate, my eye would be itchy, my nose would be itchy, my leg would twitch, my arm would twitch, my back would be itchy. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And at a certain point, I kind of got tired of myself moving and twitching and adjusting to get comfortable. And a stubbornness kicked in me. Right, I'm not moving. I don't care how itchy this gets, I'm actually not moving. And it actually passed. Now, I had to grin and bear it quite a lot. But at a certain point, that sensation stopped. Whatever was going on stopped. Same with the different aches and pains that I was getting in my body. I wasn't able to sit cross-legged at first. I was sitting in a chair like this. But I would get cramps up my ass, my back, and everything would just be uncomfortable. But something in me made a decision that I need to push through this. I had really no idea what I was doing, if I'm very frank about it. But something felt right that I needed to just confront this. I had an idea in my head that meditation was about stillness. So if I literally just hold still, out of complete just stubbornness with it, maybe that'll achieve something. It could have totally backfired. But it didn't. I discovered something. I discovered when I resisted that urge to take away the unease, something different happened. When I scratched, something else would get itchy. It would just move all around my body. When I no longer gave in to that urge, it transformed. Something different happened. But at that particular point of resisting the itch, it was excruciating. It was the most itchy I've ever felt in my life. I'm itchy even talking about it. It may or may not resolve it, but that's kind of the chance that we take. But either way, we find out something different. If we do what we've always done, we get the same result. So if I always obey that urge to have a smoke or to eat something sweet or do whatever it is or to itch, I never go further than that. I'm finding that this happens, I do something that takes away that uncomfortable feeling, and that's it. Then it happens again, same thing kicks off, I do the same thing that relieves it, I'm back to square one. So what we're really talking about is bringing ourselves right to that edge of unease, bringing ourselves right to that edge where it's the most uncomfortable that we can tolerate, and see if we can do something different in that. See if by allowing that I can tolerate more now than I could last week or last year or when I was a child, and seeing what more can I tolerate. Whatever our relief option is, we always have that. So if I get to a new point of discomfort that's more than I'm usually able to tolerate, I still have the option to have something sweet or have a cigarette or do whatever I do. We always have that. We always go back to it. But in letting ourselves sit at that edge and allowing it to be tolerated, the uncomfortableness, I may find out something more. I may just push that capacity to tolerate just a little bit more. And that's what gives us that space and capacity to be able to handle things, to be able to handle more of our inner world than last time we tried.